kindly invited me this afternoon to speak to you a little bit about the role and to look at some of the support and resources and processes that we're going through within the perinatal school into people's mental health during pregnancy and post-delivery. It's really lovely to be in a room like this and actually have a conversation and see people. 2 hours is a little bit of a long time for me to be speaking continuously. So I very much welcome your opinions and questions as we go along, comments about things, because you will get copies of the slides after. The content of that information will be there regardless. But I think when we're fortunate to have some time together to be able to discuss cases, to discuss these situations, I think we all get from that. So please make use of this as an opportunity for discussion as much as it is about having some information shared from your perspective as well. So what I've shared some information with you, it's an overview of perinatal services within the country. Copy of our available and small top tips for GPs. It does mean to be naming top tips for primary care, which is just summarising some of the key points from the presentation and also listed them the resources that there is a chance to spend. Just as a way of understanding sort of the level of the people are working at, or the volume of work that relates to pregnancy and nursing plans. If I just have a show of hands of people in the last year that has had an inquiry directed to them that's been around perinatal mental health. And if you were to extend that to the last 2 years, that more hands than one, 3 more okay, thank you. I know I have delivered some sessions where this just isn't a topic that comes at all. Basically, to put your hands up, if I have any answers down this side, what sort of questions are you asked?
I had one last week as well, and I didn't feel previous about and it's certainly beneficiaries because that continuing during pregnancy. It's the reduce the benefits of reducing complications and we're going to reduce safety and reduce as well.
In fact, what's all
just find out to reduce the benefits of this stuff. Basis of better things like that. Use that presentation breastfeeding as well. Thinking about that balance, what to say to
it's an interesting concept. And what's it?
So nice.
What about Mac? What's the situation?
For me, it's kind of like GPs who have spoken to patients who are kind of mixed up. So that I'm having the risk of discussion.
And is that well going to be pressing? Is that all the way to what do you really anybody else in the back? You want to do share us still? Have you had any others?
Yes. More around where they
yeah, sure. And finally, on the inside, where is the SSRI focused? Anybody else?
I have a problem certainly what to do in this like the part of the one.
Okay. Confirmed diagnosis of bipolar. I don't know diagnosis of bipolar. One of the challenges that I have within mental health services, and I'm sure primary care have this challenge also, is actually what is it diagnosis? When we're talking about this project, you need to know what the actual diagnosis is for us to then translate what this is. If it is a diagnosis of bipolar, there is a huge significant risk of relapse during pregnancy, but also postpartum tuberculosis in the first 6 to 12 weeks. So the decision then, and the recommendations are very much around if this is working, if this is extra stable, or the things haven't worked, yes, there are risks, but there is also a huge risk with moving this into. We did have a huge challenge where we were really ambiguous, or I think my consultant told me this 3 years ago in exotic reports, where particularly when looking at low doses of vitamin, low doses of oxygen, low doses of vitamin, was it bipolar? Was it a combination of solid personality traits? Is it borderline personality disorder? And they are very, very different conversations in where there is a benefit from that medication and actually understanding for an individual what risk has that reduced in the time of recovery. So it's a huge challenge when we're talking about risks and benefits, because we can't talk about risk and benefit of this offering medication unless we are very, very different to the benefit of this medication and what long-term effects and benefits and trying to see like continuing these medications is a challenge. So what I'm going to talk through today, it's split into 2 sections. First section is talking about a service overview and I will fly those process. Then we'll have a little bit of a break and then we'll go into some more clinical discussions exploring some of the conditions that are dominant in perinatal mental health. And then the big juicy bit and I'll prescribe it. There's not a lot of slides on the prescribing section because again I'm going to be showing you some of resources that I use, but I also really want it to be tailored to the questions that you want to ask. If I could ask you all, what about pens and paper on the table that we provided to us, if I would just ask you to all, you don't have to show this to me, but what I'm thinking is if you could all write down 1 or 2 things that you would like to know from the session, which is take away from the session, so that then we're able to reflect later on, was this session useful, have it in the lead. But I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, if you could all write down 1 or 2 points that you would like to table, the reason that you're doing. It could just be that it's an area that you've asked about and you've not had any formal training or you just want to ignore. That's absolutely valid. But if there are some really specific questions, it would be useful to acknowledge those. And what I will do is I'll review those in the break just to make sure that we're going to hit people's questions in their hands. I won't ask anybody to read a question whether they want. When you're done, I'm going to ask you to pass those over to you as a central point. How do you think that's such a good idea? Don't need to put your names on. We got them all gone again. Lovely, thank you. So I will just start with this little bit of a brief overview. These are some of the questions I get asked. How did I end up in this position? I started the pharmacy journey as a 16-year-old, working for an independent around the corner from one of the Red House. It was really, really inspirational pharmacist, really keen on sharing his knowledge and his pathway and his experience. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that he gave me when I should have just finished to go and stay in the county of Surrey for 6 years. He was very, very supportive. I went to the University of Bradford, where I did my undergraduate degree. I then took on my first qualified job. I did some at the University of Bradford and did a sandwich course. So I was finally degree. I did my first 6 months placement as a PhD in recovery, independent. And I did my second placement at Leeds Teaching Hospitals. And then was fortunate enough in training with a very sought after back on the fixed training post at Leeds, where I was a resident for 2 years. Doing on a course that started at 12 o'clock lunchtime and finished at 9 o'clock the following day. So they were very interesting to me working in Leeds whilst doing the postgraduate diploma at the University of Leeds. I then moved over after 2 years to work for the Mental Health Trust in Leeds, where I undertook my certificates in psychiatric therapeutics through Preston University. This certificate is one of the foundation expectations of any pharmacist that goes into working in mental health. And I need to correct myself, not just pharmacists, we have had with a marketing team, we've had 2 of our pharmacy technicians that have also implemented that as a postgraduate certificate for their studies. Then we went to Bradford District Care Trust to work with their community services and inpatient services, again in mental health, and carried on finished my certificate in Leicester. Then I'm from Grimsby, came back home because house prices are a lot cheaper than they are in West Yorkshire. Came back, I was at services in North East Englandshire run by the organisation for Madigo, who at the time had one part-time pharmacist working for them. And when I was speak to offer my services at the time, he said, half the pharmacists is equals no therapy. So I took the services where they were needed. I went to work for Grimsby Hospital. Had some really, really positive experiences. It's the first of my career at Grimsby Hospital. One of those was being a multi practitioner at the University of London. So just a few years I was working with the planning programme at the University. I also was the lead for most of the information services in this hospital. And the 2 most enjoyable roles were being a pre-reg tutor and then for the pre-reg manager, as well as enabling the intensive care pharmacist. Intensive care during COVID at the start of 2020 was a very challenging experience. I worked with the amazing doctors and nurses on the intensive care and community wards. But it did lead to a bit of a life foundation, as I'm sure lots of work people want to during COVID. So I decided that actually that's amazing help as where I wanted to be. Unfortunately, because we've not met, when Kieran started his pharmacist at university, Kieran has some jobs going for legal defence roles and the transformation in general. And she was very excited when I made the role because I think she was trying to coach people absolutely. So what I do at the community now is a perinatal role. I'm Monday to Thursday exclusively with the perinatal team, and then support our pharmacy team on Friday. Within my perinatal role, we have weekly and team meetings. This includes case discussions, reviewing and triaging my referrals, but also receiving medicine information programs from our doctors. We obviously have a lot of comorbidities and from pharmacy with the population that we have. So checking actually how bad is this ECG, how bad is this cardiovascular risk, what are we prepared to do? I have finally got my doctors to start asking what's the least risky option rather than what's the safest option. So the terminology is getting good. But also I'm playing a really big role in advising about medicine use in pregnancy, both to primary care and to community and secondary care. Particularly during the first trimester of pregnancy. The perinatal team don't assess that anyone to come as caseloaders will have to go to the case of pregnancy. We can provide advice, but we wouldn't directly support the person until they're past stage pregnancy. So the role I play in supporting both our secondary care and planning activity medicine advice in that first trimester is one of the extra roles that we offer as part of the prenatal service. I also offer clinics on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and these appointments are direct patient contacts, often joined with their named health coordinator, which may be a nurse, might be your team, might be a social worker, or might be joined with one of our doctors. Looking specifically at choice of medications where treatments may not be effective in the past, where we may be comorbidities into the pharmacy to consider, where we may need to be looking at management of side effects, where sometimes we may just need to have a conversation about what to consider medication is not. One of the biggest challenges, as I've already mentioned, with regards to people with diagnosed personality disorder, is that unfortunately we know that medicines don't have a great depth of evidence in managing those symptoms. But people will still be prescribed medications, and helping that person to understand why aren't they seeing the benefit? Why aren't we changing medications every week? They're very tough conversations to have, but they're also very rewarding when you can help somebody to understand and to encourage them that maybe other treatment options, such as psychosocial intervention, is just as effective, if not more effective, for their condition. But they need time. Some of my appointments can be up to 90 minutes long. And I need to be prepared for those appointments with a background of history so that I can consider the advice that I've been exposed. We also offer preconception advice for those patients who have significant mental health illness. That is often joined with either mental health consultants within the team or with a consultant or doctor within the secondary care team, which could be a patient, could be within the community. So again, looking at how we can support somebody to be well and to manage the mental health leading up to it. And obviously, my biggest love is education and training. And being able to come out to GP practices, being able to speak with primary care teams, to explain about our roles and how we can support you, is something I enjoy, but it's also a really, really crucial part of my role within our team, because communication and being able to joint work and support different teams is really valuable for positive patient outcomes during pregnancy. And we do try to work as much as we can in a flexible approach as have a responsive approach where we can do that. For anyone that is interested in knowing more about mental health and perinatal mental health, there's just a couple of signposts there. E-learning for healthcare have in the last week issued 2 new online modules. There is one which is specifically aimed at perinatal mental health teams, but there is also a more general module that's been released looking at perinatal and infant mental health. So this again, through the e-learning for healthcare platform, if anybody does have an interest in knowing more, that is a really good platform to use, and it's broken down into bite-sized sections which last, they say between 20 and 30 minutes. I did the first one in about 15 minutes. So they are in bite-sized chunks if anybody just wants to have a look at that. So going on now to talk about our service and our referrals. We are a county-wide service in the whole county of Lincolnshire, but we don't cover North East Lincolnshire. We are very much a multidisciplinary team. We have a wealth of practitioners following doctors, psychologists, assistant psychologists, CBT practitioners, myself, 2 occupational therapists, 2 social workers. I think we're up to 5 nursery nurses now. Our admin team, and we're also up to now 5 peer support workers. Our peer support workers are all people with lived experience of perinatal mental health services. Not necessarily honest, but they have their own experiences, and our peer support workers work very, very closely alongside all of our practitioners. Because that's the point, that validation, that reassurance that things do get better is really, really helpful when we're looking at recovery from perinatal mental health. The services that we offer are, as you would expect, so some of those I've already mentioned that I'm involved with directly. Our nurses offer mother infant interventions, which look at understanding how babies might be communicating, how babies might be responding, which helps the mother baby and the mother bubble into their relationships. One of the biggest risks in perinatal mental health decline is when baby abandonment, or mothers very often labelling children. So looking at ways that we can support that bonding between mum and baby is really, really important. We also have a maternity liaison clinic. Within Lincolnshire, we have a specialist mental health midwife who you are to for the Vicky Fox. And we have a joint clinic between her and our team manager to look at those ladies who we don't quite meet the referral criteria into our team, but maybe need advice or support, or sometimes even these ladies may fall into the less we do need to bring them into our team quite quickly. And so we have lots of avenues by which we can be supporting ladies to access our service directly and indirectly. The NHS long-term plan has brought in some changes that have affected perinatal mental health and releasing funding for additional posts, which I have been fortunate to benefit from. But also looking at extending beyond the traditional schizophrenia bipolar needs and actually looking at and including personality disorder diagnosis rather than as high risk, but also severe and complex depression and anxiety. But in return for that increased funding, there's an increased expectation, looking at increasing our targets. We are around 8% of the population we have contact, or 8% of members we have contact with. The national target for services is 10%. There are many services in the country that are getting close to that 10%. Looking at increased access, so traditionally, perinatal teams give support from 13 weeks up until 1 year post-birth. We are looking to extend our services up to 2 years post-delivery. In reality, we have supported ladies where we identify the need, or needs being identified. We have supported beyond the 12-month period for a number of years now, but that's just formalising expectations. Signposting fathers and partners in women accessing specialist services, and looking at maternity outreach clinics, which are in the basis of settlement. As we all have PTLC, parental trauma loss service as well. So in terms of referral criteria, this is for the people that we would assess to be onto our caseload. They're listed for you. When it comes to advice about medicines, if there is a healthcare professional in Lincolnshire that needs some support, needs some advice, needs some reassurance that you're doing the right thing, then we can follow that. So please contact us if you do need any support, particularly balance. When it comes to red flags, these are the things that we really want to be picked up quite quickly. If there has been a recent or significant change in mental health, or there has been new symptoms or really rapid decline, where there's been thoughts or acts of violent self-harm. One of the key differentiators between attempts on life and self-harm in women and men is that men's attempts tend to be quite violent, unless we're talking about perinatal stage. And then there's attempts in life can be into those violent and particularly around new and persistent expressions of incompetence in the world or talks about estrangement and maybe they are really helpless that things to be referred. But then I'm flexible for and these are people that we might need to, we might not necessarily be aware right now. These people know and we may want to do us place those so we can support that nature. Those that have past history of psychiatric disorder recommending this, particularly those that have had an inpatient condition at any point in their life. Those with the history, family history of bipolar disorder or postpartum psychosis, particularly if that's addressed to the relative, so the non-family member. Or personal history of mood disorder and destabilisation, particularly during and previous pregnancy. But then there are also people who want to know about their really well. So if there was a past history of psychosis, personal history of bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, we actually want to know about this people because again, these are people that are significant risk of relapse in that post-delivery phase and late pregnancy that we want to be monitoring for not through that support as an earlier intervention rather than waiting until symptoms present and finding. Suspected postpartum psychosis is an emergency. Please don't spend any time filling in a referral form if you suspect someone has got postpartum psychosis. Please pick up the phone. We can fill in that referral form along with our GP if need be. We aim to respond and get out to somebody within 4 hours. In most cases, and certainly the case that we had, the urgent assessment we had on Monday, we can be out within an hour. Our duty system has 2 qualified clinicians on every day, which allows us to respond to routine referrals and routine inquiries, whilst having the capacity to respond to emergencies as we need to. And if you do want assessment advice about an assessment, we're also happy to talk you through that process. If you're unsure, does this person need a referral? Again, before you fill the paperwork in, please call. There may be places that you can sign for support. There may be reassurance that you're able to offer. We may be able to say you definitely need to put a referral in, please do that, and we'll look at triage. We have triage meetings every day. So every referral is looked at within a space of 24 hours apart from weekends and bank holidays. And there's our telephone number. I would ask for you all if you could, on the printed leaflet that can go to the team, we are having our leaflets reprinted. Unfortunately, the leaflets I've got available today have the old telephone number on. So if you are going to keep the leaflets, please put across to the existing number and just update it with 01522 309 540. Following receipt of the referral, so we have triage discussions every day, and they will be overseen by a doctor of one of our senior clinicians. There's a variety of outcomes that triage could result to. One that's not listed on here is actually finding out Andy's fares. As I'll show through some of our examples later, some of those can be quite scant in terms of the information, which does make it really difficult to understand. First of all, do we look at an assessment? Are we the most appropriate teams to be looking after this person? We can look at an emergency assessment within 4 hours, and we team assessments done within 28 days. That's the national target. In reality, most of our assessments are undertaken in the first 2 weeks, but it does depend on being able to contact some people. We do have occasions where it might be 6 weeks for assessment purely because we've not been able to make contact or cancelled, or we've not been able to firm any arrangements for things. But most of our initial assessments will take place within the first 2 weeks. We do give priority assessments for late antenatal presentations and then postnatal presentations. Or one of our outcomes may be that we decline for service but signpost to impairments. Particularly around what used to be sepsis change, but is now total therapies. For anybody that is pregnant or anybody who has a partner who is pregnant, they are fast-tracked to the talking about these process. Because obviously we have got countdown to when a baby might be rebounding in the situation. So they do fast track and they're not waiting as long as standard referrals to talking about these when the rebound hands. So I'll just directly to have a quick look through the referral form that's in front of me now. It is 3 sides long. It does look a little bit lengthy, but the details are all really relevant and help us to triage and make sure that we process the referrals in a very good time. Key points to understanding is this a first pregnancy or not? Because if it is not a first pregnancy, understanding that their own individual obstetric history can help us with the decision making on what to advise. And it's again, you mentioned breastfeeding. It seems like a long way off when someone is only 6 weeks pregnant and just found out that it's having a baby. But choice of medication can be influenced by someone who's going to breastfeed or not. There are some medicines that we are more comfortable with breastfeeding and some that we are less comfortable, but we will still recommend if we're certain that that's the right course of action. Our red flag symptoms are covered in the red box. So again, if there is any urgent concerns, there has been a rapid deterioration. We are looking at a potential estrangement from the baby. They are urgent things that we would be doing the same day to go back to refer or to the person directly to understand more about the information. And also the key bit for us is making sure we've got consent for sharing records. There are sometimes when we might receive a referral for advice only. We might look at that referral and make a decision that we actually believe is the need for it to assess. But if that person hasn't been told about the referral to us, can delay us then having contact with that person, or even being able to access previous records from the trusts. If you do refer somebody that has had secondary care mental health services from an active area outside of Lincolnshire, we are very, very grateful if you're able to share at the time that you're available any outpatient letters or discharge letters from those services, because we don't have access to them. And again, we can have quick responses. A lot of surgeries do reply within a couple of days of request for information, but it can lead to some delays in terms of trying to understand the best course of action to take. So some of the challenges we have, scattergun referrals. So we'll send it off to talking therapies, we'll send to CMHT, we'll send to SPA, we'll send to PCMHT, and everybody gets this piece of paper. And that can sometimes mean that everybody thinks someone else is doing something and nothing happens. Or we're waiting for it to go on the system. We do work closely with our partner organisations and the Women Trust. If you think it's perinatal and there is an opportunity to give us a call beforehand, send it to us. If we think it's more appropriate for the sector community team to take up, or for talking therapies, we will send those referrals on. So you don't need to be sending 4 or 5 different referrals off just for the same presentation as a situation. Making sure you include key information. There's a lot of the forms that don't have, probably about 50% of forms are filled in when we receive them through. And we're often chasing for information. And it is really key to understand if somebody is antenatal or postnatal to make a difference in our response at times. And specifying your clinical concerns. I've had a beautiful referral today from the specialist midwife out of area. Really thorough. What she did was she told me there was no risk. She told me all the things I didn't need to worry about. What she didn't tell me was why she's referring and what she was concerned about. So again, it's only a quick phone call. Fortunately, she answered first time around. Unfortunately, she answered before I was able to leave today, so I could get those processes put in place. But just reading back in referrals to check that we have written down what you want us to know. And thinking about treatment, so current medication as well as past medication. It may surprise you to know that we do have occasional ladies that we recommend so long as things are pregnancy. One particular lady that we have within Lincolnshire has had 2 mother and baby admissions, and lithium is the only thing that stabilises. So when she was at the point of discharge from us and came back and told us she was pregnant, all of us were in agreement. We might try and tweak the dose a little bit, but that's a secondary care decision. I wouldn't expect anybody in primary medicine to make that decision, but occasionally the risk and benefit means we might need to take high-risk medicine options if you've also got high risk of mental health decline and onto normal harms therapy. And also checking for contact details for those who are consent for referral. So I will just show a couple of our referrals. because my team manager is very keen that as we go out, we're sharing what's good and what we wouldn't like you to do. So this was literally an email referral, no referral form. It was a last week consultation summary. It's all off care portal. Didn't actually say the reason for the referral. Or what they wanted from us. We didn't know if it was for medicine advice. It was a lady who had literally just found out she was pregnant. Suspected 5 to 6 weeks pregnant, but really uncertain about the rest of the menstrual period. We weren't sure if they were wanting assessment, if they wanted advice. Sometimes we get referrals just for your information. I've had this lady's pregnant and I'm carrying on the medication. So this is one that I'm sure as fellow pharmacists I wouldn't be seeing from you as colleagues. But what this reflects is that someone's in a rush. This reflects somebody who's feeling under pressure. And what we actually were chasing this particular GP for 48 hours trying to get more information, because if they'd gone on leave and followed the name and everything about it. An entry had been made and it summarised the Gowden and HQ score, but it didn't actually say what the main concerns were of this person. Here's another example of referral. A little bit more detail. So in summary, 26-year-old lady had been referred, who was had the previous pregnancy that had postnatal depression that required secondary care. Okay, reasonable so far. She was then referred on to talking therapy of such a change as it was, but she missed that appointment. And unfortunately, they are very strict at times. If you miss your phone call, you then get an opt-in, you don't want the opt-in, that's it, the process has to start again. But this referrer thought that by referring to us, that we somehow have a quick way in to steps to change to jump the queue. And actually, it would have just been quicker if this goes straight back to steps to change, saying the lady struggles with other illness. One of the requests that they will consider with a phone call is if you ask if they can send out an appointment letter with the dates and the time on, so people know when to pick a moment or in. And that is one of the things that we found to be really helpful. When you've got anxiety and you've got a no number calling, what that does is send your anxiety through the roof. So it is quite tricky. But we don't have a fast track way in. We just send it on to temporary therapies for that to triage. Got another one now, and again, quite a lot more detail. This is from a specialist mental health midwife. In fact, no, it wasn't a specialist. This was just this was booking in appointments. This was just standard midwife. So a lot of detail, it gives us a lot to go off. There's still a few anomalies, a few more details that we could know about. What is the medication? How long ago was the medication stopped versus it being restarted? Are we looking at discontinuation symptoms? She's restarted them, but the GP isn't aware. Is she now going to run out of medication? A few details we'd still like to know, but this actually allows us to put in place for this person. And this is a copy and paste jobby with very, very brief answers. Again, this suggests the referrer is under pressure for time. Really, really rushed. So there's potentially some mental health symptoms there. We've definitely got a reported traumatised or difficult labour. But what this is actually focusing on is social care and employment. So again, it's really tricky to unpick. Where, how do we take this forward? What's the next steps? So again, this was a call out to the parent. So when we're looking at our service overview, if you are in any doubt that you think there could be a need for principals, our duty system is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We don't like weekends, we don't like bank holidays. However, the crisis team through SPA, the single point of access, will accept any emergency referrals during the time that we are not active. So if you do have a suspected postpartum psychosis outside of the working hours, crisis team will respond to that. And please, if it is a psychosis, don't wait and we'll give them a call back later that afternoon and see if they're the study. If there is potential suspected psychosis, we want to know as quickly as possible. So we can put plans to get out to people. Getting out to a new information, relatively straightforward. Getting out to a state or label for patients sometimes takes a bit of planning with coordination and direction play. So the earlier you tell us, the better that scores. Okay, I'm going to suggest a 5 to 10 minute break now, if that's okay with everybody. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about mental health conditions and mental health prescribing. Before we break, are there any questions on what we've just said about? Everyone's still got their eyes open and smiling. So that's really positive. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a 10 minute break now and we'll start after this. Thank you.